get this party started. I'm back with the living. If anybody that had appointments with me yesterday, I apologize. I was passing a kidney stone, which was gives me
Ouch.
a whole new appreciation for childbirth.
And you're here today?
I'm here. I'm back with the living.
Are you okay?
Yeah, this was actually my third go round with it, and so I kind of know the drill now.
Oh, thank God.
It's very painful in the process, but once it's done, it's like you're right back. There's no after effects. But I tell you what, during that time, it's pretty ugly. It's like being in labor, or so I hear. But anyway.
That's terrible. I'm glad you're among the living again.
Oh, yeah, well, me too. All right, so anyway, back to you guys. Where are you guys at? What are you stuck on?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Just a couple of questions on SitePop.
Okay.
It's working great, and I've signed up a few more clients this week.
Awesome.
I noticed when I go and do the reports, after the initial big spike up we get right up to the top, and it goes down and comes back up again. Consistently, the sites tend to be on page 2, 3, or 4, but when I go and actually do proper anonymous checks on Google, they're on the first page, and they're ranking 2, 3, or 4 on the first page, and just wonder why that is.
Okay, well, here's how it works. When you see it on the app, or basically the reports are reflecting what is showing on the apps. The report is reflecting the last computer or last device that ran the search, where it found it. Those are completely inconsistent across the board, and we've done this over many years. I've done tests, like I've done tests on this call here. I'll tell everybody, okay, open up Google and everybody run a search for this keyword and report back, where you see it, and they're all over the board. So depending on the browser, depending on the user search behavior and all that, you will see different results depending on a whole bunch of different criteria. And that's kind of a mechanism for Google to hide the real algorithm, so you don't like get the keys and then drive the car away from them.
Look, Google doesn't really let you into the kingdom as such.
Yeah, they keep it all very, very protected.
I mean, I spent about 5 years working closely with the guys in Sydney in the Googleplex there, and even the engineers here don't really know exactly how it works, some of the aspects of it.
Yeah, there's so many people involved that, and they're not all holding hands. So you're right, they don't all know everything, and that might be part of the plan.
Oh yeah, I'm quite sure it's actually part of their method. But so basically, what you're telling me is, don't worry about the fact that the reports are showing our clients down to page 4 or 5, and when I know that he's on the first page.
Yeah, it happens the other way too. They'll see that they're on page 1, and then they'll run the search and they don't find it there. It might be on page 2 or 3, or not even there at all.
Right. Okay.
And, so yeah, we hear a lot of that, and it is common. It's very standard. But the fact remains that as long as Google is seeing positive search signals, they're going to value your site more. So it's going to give it a constant push up. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize is SEO. Any kind of SEO. I don't care what you're doing. If you're doing link building, or you're doing on-page content, or search signals, or anything at all that you do to do true SEO that is actually in alignment with what Google wants, which is creating a better user experience. Anytime you do any of that, all factors count, and every time you add a factor to it, it raises your trust level with Google. And what that can mean to you is that could mean a lot more keywords being valued from that one effort. Like you might be doing that one effort toward one keyword. That keyword might be competitive, so you don't see a big movement, but you're not looking at the movement it's doing for all the other hundreds or even thousands of keywords. So a lot of people don't understand the value of actions in SEO. They are across the board and they're equity building. So there's tremendous value in SEO, whether you see the value or not. It's truly there. That's a hard
Okay,
thing. It's a hard thing for people to get their head wrapped around because they only see what's right in front of their nose, and they don't, it's like they've got blinders on. They're not seeing the world around them.
yeah, I can understand. Yeah, I mean, I ran a trial, a free trial for a client for a month, and I had a meeting with him, and he jumped on board immediately yesterday. But he was absolutely gobsmacked that he's gone through the roof over the results he's getting. He said, "I just can't believe it." And then I sat down and explained to him how Google now works with artificial intelligence and RankBrain, how it tracks everything you do, and he was totally gobsmacked. He said, how do they do that? I said, don't worry about it. Just worry about the fact you're on page 1, mate. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks, John. You've answered my question.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool. All right. Who else? Questions, comments, concerns, where you're at, what you need help with?
All right, if no one's going to jump in.
How's it going, Gregory?
Well, my YouTube channel is getting a little traction here and there.
Okay, cool.
I'm keeping my presentations. I'm doing my dailies. So I got over 90 videos on YouTube. And I was related to the group prior to coming on, sir, was that I did a video on living expense free. So I'm doing daily videos, which is the stock market reports of my winners and losers. Or actually, my losers becoming winners. Then I try to do a weekly, but I'm a week behind. But I didn't tell anybody it's a weekly, but I did a thing called special report. My last special report was living expense free. That was trade where you spend money. So if you're a Costco shopper, go trade Costco. If you buy gasoline at Chevron, go trade Chevron. Well, my daughter has a friend who's a podcast producer. He saw it, he liked it, and now he's inviting her to come on because she's very passionate. When she gets riled up, she's an unstoppable express train, and she's 47 and she's a single mom. And she actually puts it out why, I'm doing this because I am a single mom and I am worried about my financial future. And got my son who's in college, and he said, "Okay, you're on." He's going to put her on his podcast about that subject matter. So just relating that. That's about on that report. But I was mentioning to the group earlier was understanding the video analytics on YouTube. That was the point that I was driving at in a way. Let me go real quick, and I can just pinpoint this. This is the earlier question. Some people heard, but not everybody heard. And it's called the impressions. How many impressions you get? When I go to analytics, and in analytics, you want me to share or no?
I think there's impressions, and then there's views.
Correct.
Okay. And then there's views to completion.
Okay. All right.
So all an impression means is that somebody saw the page. It does not necessarily mean they saw the video.
Okay.
So an impression,
page is good.
Yeah, an impression means that somebody ran the search and they clicked on yours and your video page came up. Doesn't necessarily mean that they clicked to watch the video.
Okay.
That's called a video view.
Okay.
And then views. I think, I don't know exactly if it's 7 seconds. They have to watch it for at least 7 seconds before I think it counts as an actual view.
Right.
There's something like that. There's some kind of trigger that triggers a view.
Yeah. Right.
And then there's another trigger that triggers completion of the video.
Okay. I have a few completions, but most of the people drop the videos at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They're gone. And I know why. They only want to hear about the winners. Who's ahead today? Who exited with a profit? Who got removed to the winner's circle? Done. Once I go into a little, Yeah,
so here's something you want to consider. If you're looking at your analytics, and this goes with everything. analytics are really good if you want to try and scale things up, because it gives you a basis for evaluation on your efforts. So whether it's YouTube video analytics or it's in your funnel or whatever, what you're looking for, one of the things you're looking for is conversions, which I don't think you really have conversions in the analytics for YouTube, but a conversion really in YouTube would be they completed watching your video.
Mhm.
So if you see in your analytics, whether it be your funnel or your videos or whatever, if people are dropping out, like you say, it dropping out at 2.5 minutes or whatever, you know something about that now. You know if your call to action is after that, they're not receiving it. So you might want to move it up.
Yeah,
Like,
well, mhm.
like you might want to start redesigning your, you know, your calls to action to put the call to action before the juicy piece that you give them to make sure they get it.
Yeah.
You know, you could position that like, hey guys, you know, I'm about to reveal the, you know, the winners for the week, and I know you're excited about that, but I want to give you this first so you know how to get in on this, you know, and then give them the call to action.
Yeah.
And then give them the winner, and then show the call to action again right after. And then if
Okay.
you're going to continue on with your content and throw it at the end as well.
Mhm.
But you'll see calls to action don't have to be at the end. A lot of times somebody is ready for a call to action far before they get to the end. That kind of drives me nuts on landing pages. I'll see a landing page where, you know, it's going on and on and on, and it's like, okay, I'm sold, I'm ready to buy it. And then it just goes on so far that I get, you know, turned off, and then I leave. Especially with
Mhm.
webinars, and you know,
Right.
some of these people have webinars that go on for like 3 hours
Mhm.
before you even know what the hell they're selling, and it's like, come on guys, it's crazy.
Oh, all right. Well,
So
I haven't done, no, there are no call to actions yet on my videos. It's just good content about showing proof that
yeah,
losers become
yeah,
winners. And
okay.
then the second thing is covering topics that are to my private. I still have a group of private members,
Mhm.
and they'll ask me a question. Like one person said, "Well, I'm taking on a regular job. I don't have time for trading." I said, "You didn't. I don't do day trading. This is end of day trading. You open at 1 o'clock, you shut down at 2 o'clock, or whenever time you allocate to do the review of your account. That's it." So people get, that's another thing that I have to, that's another thing I have to address. What's the difference between day trading and long-term trading? All right, but that gives me on the right track. So
Okay,
I'm gonna let someone else go ahead, and I'm done. Anybody else?
awesome. All right. Hey Jim, I see you're on there. How's it going? You're muted out there.
Yeah, I was just eating lunch.
Oh, sorry, but didn't
I
mean
haven't
to,
had breakfast yet.
interrupt the process. Uh,
No, thanks
I
for asking.
I know we had an appointment yesterday, and I was in no position. So
Yeah, no, that sounds horribly painful. I'm
yeah, it
glad
was.
you're on the other side.
Oh, I'm very happy about that myself. But
Yeah, but we have tons to talk about, so we'll reschedule.
okay, yeah, I was just going to let you know if you got time this afternoon, we could possibly, you know, make it happen then.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
can I give you a call like 2:30?
yeah. Let me check here real quick. Yeah, perfect.
All right, great.
Sounds good. So I'll let you go back to lunch.
I'm listening.
Okay,
Great
cool.
stuff.
All
So
right.
with me, I'm excited because I'm part of your apprentice program now.
Yeah,
And I have,
welcome aboard.
thank you. And I have a lot of homework. So I'm on today just to listen to what's happening with everybody else. But at the moment, I'm still in homework mode, getting things
Okay.
done. And thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, you are very, very welcome. So as far as like, I'll cover just kind of the apprentice program a little bit. So you know, several of them are on here today as well. So that'll be cool. Um, the first thing, like the apprentice program, really is geared toward you. There's no set structure that I force you through. It's like wherever you're at, that's where we are. And it's like I said, it's totally geared toward you. Whatever you need, you might need to build your website out, you might need to build a funnel, you might need to, it doesn't matter. You have access to all my resources for whatever it is you're stuck on or need to do. So it's very, very flexible. If you're coming into it with the premise of getting help through ACT, if that's the case, the first thing that we like to focus on is the big idea. And because that's really kind of the cornerstone of all marketing, is that whole big idea concept. And it's much more than what it sounds like. We all know what a big idea is in our head, but in advertising, a big idea is a formulatic or formulaic, whatever, however you say that, formulaic thing that is built to grab attention. And there is a formula behind it. And I've got a whole lesson on it in the, in the training area. There's a worksheet on it. There's basically 3 pieces to it. One of them is the promise. It's like you have to make a promise of the desired outcome. And that goes back to the timeline exercise in ACT. So the promise is a key component of the big idea. The next thing is the unique mechanism. This is the delivery mechanism that is the thing that's going to do the work to get them the outcome. And again, that's another piece of ACT, unique mechanism. There's a whole lesson on that. And then you combine those 2 with a third component that is saying it in a unique and compelling way. And a lot of times people they'll acknowledge this process as a unique selling proposition. Like they'll ask you, what's your unique selling proposition? That's not really all inclusive. The big idea is actually, it's almost like you could think about it as an elevator speech done in like 2 or 3 sentences. You could think of it in that way, but it's those 3 things. It's how you give a promise, tell them how it's going to get delivered, and you say it in a way they've never heard it before. That's really like what the big idea is. And it, like I said, it's a key component to any successful marketing campaign. It's your attention grabber. It's like when they hear that big idea, their head snaps and they're like, what? Tell me more. I am interested. They're leaning in and they're ready to consume more. And this sets you up perfectly for your campaign, because when they're in that position of intrigue and they want to know more, that's the perfect time to offer them a lead magnet. It's the perfect time to get them to opt in. They're leaning in, they're ready, they want it. So that's the perfect time to get them to opt in. And now that they're opted in, now you have the ability to take your time, the pressure's off. You can come back to them with email after email, invite, webinar, anything that you want to do. And in the ACT program, we call that the sales vehicle. That's the process of educating. That's education-based marketing, basically, and that is your campaign. So that's kind of like with apprentices, if they come in and they like are ready to make an ad campaign, they're ready to make a marketing campaign, that's the process. We always start with the big idea. Got to get that locked down, and everything is attached to that, because it's making a promise, it's telling them how you're going to deliver it, and it's saying it so they're leaning in, wanting more. And then at that point, now you go to work and you educate them. You tell them, now's your opportunity to tell them what you can do for them, and always keep it focused on them. It's all about them. You tell them what you can do for them, how it's going to affect them, how, all of that stuff. You're basically creating, every time you do that, you're creating demand and desire, and you're leading them up to making an offer. So the only thing that you have to do prior to actually making the offer is eliminate any objections. You want to make sure you eliminate any objections. And any of you guys that have been through the class or the online or with me on the 2-day live events, you'll know that we have Benjamin Franklin's formula for eliminating objections, which is the claim proof benefit statement. And you just make sure that you've identified all the potential objections, you eliminate them with the claim proof benefit statements, and then you make your offer. So that's all kind of woven together. There's no ABC for how to put it together. You might start overcoming objections right in the beginning. You might, strew it throughout your presentation or, your campaign. You might have you might be just selling a front end lead product that's a low dollar where you can get to that sale very quickly. So it doesn't matter. That's the process. If you want a campaign that converts, that's how you do it. If you look at any online marketing campaigns that are going on through Facebook or email or whatever, you'll see all those key components. You'll see all of that stuff going to work for them. And it all works. A lot of these guys have been doing this for years. They're very, very good at it. They're so good at it, they've realized they can literally sell anything to anyone. And a lot of times that gets them just selling a bunch of garbage. And because they're so good at it, I don't know about you guys, but I know I've bought a lot of junk. I've bought a lot of absolute crap. It looks great. I buy it, I get into it. It's like, what the hell did I just buy? What have I done to myself? And it's because they're so good at selling that stuff. Gregory, you got your hand up.
No, I was just concurring with you. That's all.
Gotcha.
That's all I meant was, yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. I think we all have. It's these guys. This is almost like, I know Matt Brawning. If any of you guys know Matt, he teaches NLP, and one of the things that he does is he puts out a disclaimer right up front that you can use this skill for good and you can use it for evil, and he makes you promise that you will not use it for evil. I just wish that people that learned marketing made that promise because they're using this stuff for evil. They're just using it to make a quick buck, and you'll see they're like one-trick ponies. They sell one thing, and then all of a sudden that's gone, and they're selling another thing and another thing and another thing. There's no longevity to them, and it's just like, it's crazy. So just watch out for those guys. Scott Kent, he had sent me a thing just this morning about a new thing that came out, and it was posing itself as a membership builder and like a replacement for Kartra. And when I looked at it, they had almost copied the Kartra sales funnel. And when I looked at who was behind it, who was marketing it, and all this, I got back to him and I said, yeah, I don't think I would trust that. I said, based on who it's from, who's marketing it, who's promoting it, what's behind it, I wouldn't trust that, for a long-term thing to run your business on. Not a chance. So anyway, Russ wants me to talk about the game changer in advertising. I had alluded to this the other day. This is a new form, and it's not new. This has been used by big companies. I mean, major companies have been the only ones that could afford to do this. And what it is, it's a form of retargeting. And the game changer about it is we now have access to the platform because of some of those big companies that we've developed it for. And my guys that developed the software for SitePop were actually the same ones that developed this framework too. So it's just another pony in our stable, to help companies advertise. And the way it works, you've probably heard of geofencing. And if you haven't, what geofencing is it's like marking off a territory on a map where you can identify devices that enter that area. And the way it works, the satellites are all connected to the cell towers, and anybody that has a cell phone that cell phone is being tracked. And, you know, this might sound kind of scary, and it may or may not be, but it's true. It's a reality of the world we live in. If you have a cell phone and you have cell service, every time that your cell phone is in connection to that cell service, the cell service knows where you are. That's communicated to the satellite, and that information is globally available. That's just the way it is. There's no changing it. It's, you agree to it when you bought the phone, all that. There's nothing illegal about it. So anyway, with satellites and geo mapping, we're able to actually rope off an area, like let's say a trade show. We could take like Anaheim Convention Center as an example, or some of you might be more familiar with Las Vegas. So let's use the Las Vegas trade show, convention center. We could literally rope that area off. Like anybody that enters into that building, we can know who did that, which cell phones entered that building, and any given time. Like we can track this during show hours, so we're not tracking, you know, just employees. Anyway, you kind of get that, right? So it's an area where we know which cell phones entered the area. Now the cool part about this is the thing that is the game changer. It used to be you could promote things to the cell phone when it was in the area. That in itself is fairly ineffective, because if somebody's in a trade show, they're walking the trade show, they're probably not looking at their phone. You know, we tested this in Angel Stadium during a baseball game, and the test that I did in the stadium proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that this form of advertising is ineffective in the area itself. What I did, I broadcast a message to all the cell phones in Angel Stadium, and I said, you know, during the next inning change, there's going to be free beer at station 7, or, you know, whatever it was, and I'm expecting a mob to mob that beer stand. Nobody showed up. That right there proved to me beyond a shadow of a doubt that when people are in a stadium or at a show or something, they're not actively looking at their phone. So they're not getting the messages. Once they leave the area, they're outside the geo-targeted area, the message disappears anyway. You're not able to communicate with them after they leave the area. So the difference in ours is what we're doing is when the phone enters the area, we are flagging the phone, the device itself. We know who owns the device because that is connected to another consumer database. And in the connection of that consumer database, we also know what other devices that user is connected to, AKA their home computer and their work computer. Like we know if they use the phone, and this goes for the life of the phone. This isn't for when it's in the geo-targeted area. So anyway, once we target that phone, we can track and we can display ads to that user on their home computer, their work computer, and their phone for the rest of the life of the phone. That's the game changer. So if you think about that, that takes retargeting to a whole new level. Because the flaw with retargeting is for retargeting to work, they have to have been on your website or on your Facebook page or wherever your targeting pixels lay. They have to have visited there. So you have to spend money to get them there in the first place to be able to retarget them. The problem with geofencing and targeting them when they're in the area is just what I said. You're only able to target them when they're in the area. Once they leave, you're done. Your dollar's spent and it's gone. So with this, the beauty of this is we're able to retarget people that have never heard of you, never been to your website, just based on them being in a general area in any given time. And now we can follow them on their phone, on their desktop at home, and their desktop at work. That right there is an absolute game changer. And we can do it fairly inexpensively because the platform's already been done. You guys aren't having to pay for the platform. We're basically doing it for the price of the ads. And the ads are fairly inexpensive. Retargeting ads are anywhere from, $5 or $6 to 10 or 12 bucks per 1,000 impressions. That's pretty inexpensive advertising. So
Is that done with SitePop?
no, this has nothing to do with SitePop.
Oh.
This is a completely different animal. SitePop is sending signals directly to Google. It doesn't have anything to do with the cell towers or the users or anything like that. Completely different. This is retargeting. This is being able to actually bring a visual display ad to that consumer. Like, I'll give you a couple examples of where this is really powerful. Let's say you're advertising at a trade show, and you're at the trade show, and your success is based upon anyone at the trade show seeing you and coming in and you capturing their information. Now, once the trade show's over, your opportunity is lost. You have no ability to connect with anybody that was at the show that you didn't physically capture their information during the show, which that's potentially hundreds or thousands of prospects that you weren't able to get to. So if you did this, let's say you geo-targeted the trade show, and for the 3 days that you were at the show, you were tagging every one of the phones that entered the area. And now, once you go home, you're able to display your ads to those people and bring them back to your site and get them into your funnel. That is an absolute game changer. If this is really, really a saleable product too for small businesses. Like, you could go to let's say an Italian restaurant, and you could go to the Italian restaurant owner and say, how would you like to literally pull people out of your competitors' restaurants and bring them to your place? That's what you're able to do. Because we could geofence all the Italian restaurants in the neighborhood, and anyone that walks into that restaurant, we can now display your ads with a coupon to bring them into your Italian restaurant. Imagine how powerful that is. Being able to, because your competitors spent money to draw those people in. So you're taking advantage of their ad spend to display your ads to the customers that they created with their ad dollars. You're literally stealing their competitors right out from under, or not your competitors. You're stealing your competitors' customers right out from under them. That is pretty cool. I have another client, she sells children's books, and we're considering geofencing Disneyland. That's a pretty good target to sell children's books, right? Most people that go into Disneyland have kids. So
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
yeah, this is some really powerful stuff. I've kind of leaked this information out in Craig's group, and I just got a lot of blank stares. Nobody really knew what the hell I was talking about. But in the advertising world, this is like the creme de la creme, and this is what the huge companies are doing. We actually did this for a Mercedes dealer. One of our case studies in our marketing material that we're putting together was we did it for a Mercedes dealer. We targeted 4 of their competitors in the general area, and one of them was a BMW dealer, one of them was a Lexus dealer, one of them was another competing Mercedes dealer, and I forget what the 4th one was, but 4 dealers, we targeted them. So anybody that walked onto their lots now started seeing our display ads for our Mercedes dealer. And we did this as a 90-day case study. And we could totally track this too, because when we target them, we tag them, we know when they walk into our geofence. That's a conversion. We actually plucked them out of someone else's geofence and brought them to ours, and we can totally track that in our analytics. Of the tracked people that came back into our geofence in 90 days, 74 of them converted to buy Mercedes-Benz.
So do they
off our lot.
So basically, they got the ad after they left the targeted geofence,
Correct.
but not while they're there.
Well, they see it on their phone. If they were to look on their phone, yes, they would see it there. But generally, they're not doing that. It's generally after the fact. So that's crazy. I mean, what is the value of selling 74 Mercedes in 90 days? That's pretty damn effective.
John, how are the ads transmitted?
The ads are all done through all of the normal ad channels. So we have access to dumping these ads into all the major ad networks. So not only Google, not only Facebook, but all the ones like that you could get through AdRoll. It's a whole nationwide display network. It's all the auto bidding. We're basically auto bidding out on all the display networks. So these ads are showing up everywhere.
So when you say an ad is going to be displayed on someone's cell phone, is that a text message?
No. This is displayed anywhere where ads are being displayed out of ad networks. So like, let's say they go onto the Weather Channel, or they pull up their weather app. When they're using any app on their phone that displays ads, that's where we can display the ads through retargeting.
So it's on a browser. It's on a browser then.
Yeah, it's anywhere where an ad displays. That's where we can put these ads. So most free apps do run ads. That's how they make their money. So people agree to this. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing illegal. There's nothing to get in trouble. This is normal, standard channels of retargeting. It's just we're placing the retargeting pixel in a different way. They don't have to actually go to your site. We're able to do it through their physical presence in a location, which is really, really powerful.
So this is more like an offline retargeting as opposed to online retargeting when you have a cookie or a pixel.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's taking them out of the real world and targeting on the online world.
Okay.
So how would you measure to make sure that particular client is the one that actually or sold an item in the store? Because I just talked with a client, a consignment store that works through the radio stations here locally, and they work with Clear Channel, and they presented this geofencing product or process, and the problem was that it conflated the results of the sales because he didn't know whether he was getting those sales from his TV spots or this geofencing new method, and it just got confused. So that's one of the things I think.
Okay. Well, with this, it's really cool because you can track the conversions based on a lot of different things. We've got a lot of analytics in the back of this that it's really easy to track the results from it. Like for instance, if you were going to do the retargeting, let's say you were going to bring them in through a coupon, that coupon itself would be the tracking conversion. So you would know exactly, how many came in through that way. Like we did that with a pharmacy. We geo-targeted all the pharmacies around and then sent coupons out to bring them in to the new pharmacy, and it was very easy to track that way.
So they come in and sign up they come to the physical store with the coupon code, or do they go online?
Either way, doesn't matter. Once the coupon code is entered, that's trackable. So you can do that with a restaurant. They can literally come into the restaurant and you can say, hey, just mention this. When you come in, mention this and get a free appetizer. And, they're gonna mention it because they want the free appetizer. That's why they came. And you're going to know, hey, that person saw this. That person came from this channel. Because there's no other way they would know to say that.
Hey, John, I'm trying to get my head around this a little bit. I've got a question. When you say you're fencing off a whole convention center and there's thousands of people there, you're only going to know the phone numbers and details and all that stuff of people who happen to be in your database or on one of your lists. It's not going to be John Doe who walks in there who's not in any list anywhere, so you couldn't possibly know who his phone number belongs to.
No, that's the beauty of this. We do know they don't have to be in our database. When they bought the phone, that phone belongs to somebody. That data is accessible to us. So not only is that data accessible to us, we cross-reference. We're using like 4 different technologies to do this. So we're using the satellite systems, we're using the cell systems, and we're using 2 consumer databases, or 1 consumer database to connect it all together, and then the ad network platform. So there's four things in combination to pull this off. But anybody, literally anyone that walks into that geofenced area with their phone turned on is going to get picked up. And then it's going to be tracked in our ad display network to send the ads back to the phone and to any other device that that person is connected to. Like and the way that the consumer databases know this, the way they know the connections is they track it through apps. Like if you might have an app on your phone, and then you might have let's say you got your banking app. You have your banking app on your phone. So the ID, the unique ID of that account, if that account is logged in or logged on through the phone, and it's also logged on through another computer, it connects that. So we know this phone user also uses that computer. So they might log on at work, they might log on at home, and it doesn't have to be through a bank. It could be anything like even a Twitter account, even a Facebook account. When that Facebook account is accessed from multiple users, we've connected the dots. That's how we're doing it.
Okay, that might be legal in the US. Is it legal in the UK and Australia? Because we've got very strict laws out here. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I don't see why not, because you guys have all the same technologies and you've got all the same platforms and you've got all the same user agreements.
Yeah, we've got a dumb government though.
that might be, but what the problem over in the UK is all about acceptance of information. Everyone has to opt in. Everyone has to be, accepted of terms, right? That's the deal.
Yeah.
So when you buy a cell phone, you're accepting those terms. When you load an app, you're accepting their terms. Their terms are that we can display ad network to you. We can run display ads. That's how we get paid. That's how we make our existence. So I don't see an issue. I'm not an attorney. I can't really tell you from a legal aspect. You might check into that, but I don't see anything. I don't see any issues.
Okay, because I've got a couple of clients I could see would make use of this.
Yeah. See, where your issue lies in direct communicating with somebody that is not opted in.
So could you target like a church or a synagogue and say, I want to give a discount for people that are in this area for like a photography portrait session or something like that?
You can target any physical area. There's a couple of things that are not ideal about this. And one of them is if you're targeting a small trade show or a small conference that's in a hotel and it's like on the first floor and the hotel is above it. Because basically the only way we're getting that is anybody that's in the hotel. And that doesn't mean they were at your conference.
Right.
But if it's a conference that's in a standoff auditorium, that's a no-brainer.
Or if it's an area where people are going to be congregating for a specific event on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
the other really cool thing about this is all of this data it's already tracked. The data already exists. The data is stored. So I could literally go back if you told me, hey, there was a trade show at the Anaheim Convention Center 2 months ago, and I'd like to target those people, we can go back and we can pull the data. We already have it. That's pretty crazy. So we could literally go back in time and run targeted ads out to people that visited a location in the past. If it's a major area that we've already targeted, and a lot of them are already, being tracked. So pretty cool stuff. This is one of the things, I just reopened our reseller platform, and we used to have a reseller platform that we would resell all of our SEO services and online services to people. And it grew really big, and then we scaled back. We cut out some programs that we were doing, and we've only had a handful of people in that have been with us throughout the years. And once we opened SitePop, we brought in so many new customers that are specifically in the SEO field that we had a lot of people that requested that we do that again, that people that wanted to resell other services that we're offering. So this service is going to be, it's available for any of you guys that want to use it, but it's available in our reseller platform for anybody that wants to resell it and make money off of it. So it's a pretty cool deal. As far as pricing, some of you are probably a little skeptical on when I say low, what that means, but we have a minimum. This is the absolute minimum deal that we'll do is a 3-month contract at $500 a month for the display ads, and then a $500 setup fee. So the minimum barrier to entry is $2,000 for a 3-month program. And that's on a very, the minimum that we'll do. And then it goes on up from there. It could go up to the sky's the limit. Some of these big corporate clients, they're spending $100,000 a month doing this. They are doing this in a big way, and it's really effective. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of it. So hopefully that answered your questions, Russ. If you got any more, go ahead and pop out. But that's what I was talking about when I was talking about a game changer. That was
say we get a client for this, and we're not experts in setting up all the keywords and targets of the geofence. Is that something that they would do, or
yeah? Our team handles all of that. Our team basically does a strategy call, figures out, the best ad networks to place. We actually create the ads too, so there's no mismatches. And our guys are really, really good at this. So we do everything. That's why there's a setup fee. There's a $500 setup fee on the minimum, and we're doing all of that. We're basically planning it out, making sure it's going to be effective, creating the ads, all of that stuff. So
John, I have one final question.
Sure.
I've got a client I'm thinking of, sells high-end post-driving machinery that they manufacture it. They do a lot of trade shows, and these are right out in the middle of the country, like with no towns around them anywhere for miles in some cases. It would be very easy to fence, and they've all got cell phone coverage, so it would be easy to fence off that whole area. And these, over the course of 3 days, they probably would have anywhere from 10,000 to 50,000 people through there. Would this be appropriate for a client like that?
Well, basically what you want to do, you don't want to target just generic areas. But if your customers, what you're looking for an area to target that your customers are actively entering, or your competitors' customers are actively entering. That's basically the ideal target. You want to only send your ads out to people that are your ideal prospects.
Yeah, this isn't a generic area. These people would all go to this location purely to look at farm machinery. They're not. That's not just passers-by just wandering in there.
Oh yeah, then absolutely. If that's the case, if you're selling farm equipment, and a place where people are going to look at farm equipment, yeah, that's a match made in heaven right there.
Okay, so where do I go to get more info on this?
You can just shoot me an email, and I'll send you the info on it.
Okay, thanks, John.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's really cool. we're calling it crowd targeting. So we're targeting a crowd of people.
I like the name.
Yeah, because a lot of people are calling, this stuff different things, and it has a lot of meanings. Like I said, there's a lot of people that are calling, the geofencing. This is using geofencing as a piece of it, but it's by no means just geofencing. This is a whole different animal. So I don't want to get caught up in the bucket of what everybody else thinks is something else. So we're calling it crowd targeting.
So,
Yeah.
so Jim, if we wanted to make money on this, then we got to add our fee on top of it, right?
Actually, with this, the way we're doing it is on the resell, you're basically getting a sales commission on it, because you're not supposed to add padding on top of ad spend. So we're basically doing it. Ad spend is a known thing. So basically, if you take a customer and you try and add padding on top of standard ad spend, that can give you a bad name. So what we're doing is we're running the campaign at a set rate, and then if you're on our reseller platform, you would get a 10% sales commission out of it.
How would your client ever see your ad spend?
Well, ad spend is publicly available. Like if they go to any display ad network, they're going to know, what the general ad spend is for that. So it's a known thing.
So we couldn't mark it up and say it's 1,000 set up and $1,000 a month.
You could, but if it's not going to put you in a competitive realm.
Got it.
Typically you want to be competitive when you're offering services, because
Okay.
let's say you're offering this service on top of a bunch of other services, and somewhere down the road, if they figure out that you're ripping them off on this particular thing, it could potentially lose all of your business to that customer. If you're doing everything on the up and up and you bring this to them, they're never going to leave you. So you never want to give them a reason to leave you, and price for the same thing is a good reason to leave you.
I don't think your client could ever even figure out how to find another company that does this.
Well, I mean, that could be the case. So
I run retargeting for dozens of clients, and they have no idea what the real ad spend is. But this kind of retargeting, how many people do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally up to you. You could buy it yourself and then just resell it to them.
Okay.
I mean, that is an option. So, all right, Russ, I think you were trying to squeeze through there with a.
Yeah, busy day.
Oh, yeah.
So the $500 a month for the display ad, does that include the advertising cost, or is it advertising cost on top?
No, that is the advertising cost. So the way it works, there's a 25% management fee. So basically, out of the 500, 25% of that is going to the management of the campaign. That's the cost of the campaign. And 75% of that is going to the ad spend. So 375 would be actual ad spend, and 125 is going to be the cost of the campaign. So it's just like when you're buying when you're paying for somebody to run ad campaigns, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or Google or anything like that, there's always the ad spend and then the campaign management.
Right.
So the campaign management on this is 25%.
Okay, now are the ads on Facebook and Google, or just Google?
Yeah, no, they're everywhere that display ads can go. So they're Facebook, they're the Google network, they're the outside Google network. These are mainstream. They're everywhere.
Wow. Okay.
It's all the ad platforms. Anywhere where a display ad can be, we're in the mix.
And would they be using their own account or my Google Ads account?
No, we're creating all of the account stuff on our end.
Okay.
So this it's kind of like going to AdRoll. when you go to ad roll and you create a retargeting ad, it's, you know, you're creating an account there and then they're accessing all the networks. So it's the same type of thing.
So you mentioned the $500 beginner package. What does that include? Just one location, and how many, or how does that work?
Okay.
What's
So,
the difference between the different packages?
well, it's all just ad spend. That's the only difference, is the ad spend and the setup fee. Because the higher the ad spend, the more ads we're probably going to need to make, and the more work is going to be to set the campaign up. So as you scale up, that's basically the difference, is just in how many ads are being displayed out to your target. So an idea of that, if you just wanted to target one small location that didn't have a, you know, a tremendous amount of traffic in it, that would probably work. You want to look at how many people are being retargeted as to how big an ad spend you need. Like, let's say, for instance, if you were at let's say you were at $10 a thousand in the ad spend. That was the cost on the ad network. So on a $500, you'd have $375 of actual ad spend. So you would just divide that in. So for every $10, so that's what, 37 and a half. So you'd have 37,500 ads displayed at that math. So if you had 3,700 or 3,750, if you had that amount of ads going out, you would want to make sure that the people that you were targeting was about 10% of that. So if you have 37,000, you want to make sure that the people you're targeting is 3,700. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because you want the ad to at least display at least 10 times in that month. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
So, but your number of people is going up every month, right?
Correct. So you can, and again, that's a lot of the considerations that they'll talk about when they're creating the campaign. They'll look at the area, they'll tell you how many people are expected, and then what the expected ad budgets are, and kind of how to gauge the campaign. And what you can do is you can scale it up or down in any way. Like if you're just hitting this as a one-time deal, let's say you're hitting a trade show, you know, that's a finite number of customers, and you know how far out you want to target them, how many times you want to hit them. You might run a year-long campaign to them. If they went to a trade show, you might run a year-long campaign to them where we change the banner ads out periodically through the year for you, and you might hit them like 2 months before the next trade show, prepping them to come and see you at your booth, giving them a special offer if they pop into your booth. There's all kinds of ways to, creative ways to use this as an ad platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great.
Yeah. If you're like, let's say you're that Mercedes dealer, they had a pretty hefty ad budget because they were hitting a lot of people. In that 90 days, there was a lot of people in those car lots. And, but it worked out for them. I mean, they sold 74 cars in 90 days. That's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
That well exceeded my expectations.
So the key is to find where your target market is congregating in a very predictable manner.
Yeah, exactly. Or where your competitors are. If your competitors have people entering their location, that's a perfect target. We've even got an example of people using this to actually steal workers, like take workers from restaurants. And the way they would do that, they would geo-target the areas out back of the restaurant where the employees would go for their breaks. And they would just target the employees of the restaurant and send them ads like, you need a raise? Does your job suck? Stuff like that. And they would actually pull employees out of other competing restaurants. They knew the employees are already trained. They're perfect employees. They're trained to do that job. So there's all kinds of applications for this. This is like one of those things that is on the lines of what I call diabolical. So cool stuff. But anyway, hopefully, Russ, hopefully I stood up to my claim there with a game changer in advertising.
Yes, very interesting. I'll have to schedule a call with you.
All right. Well, sounds like a winner.
Thank you,
So
Jim.
I have a question again. Sorry about that.
Sure.
So your 375 equals how many impressions again?
It would depend on the particular niche, how competitive it was, but generally the ad spend is usually, you know, somewhere between $6 and $12 per thousand. They call it CPM. It's cost per mil, which is cost per thousand, and that's 1,000 impressions. That's how many times your banner is actually displayed in front of somebody. It doesn't mean they clicked on it. It's just how many times it's displayed. They sell it by the CPM in that form of a network.
Okay, so then you want to target the number of people to be 10% of that CPM rate per month.
That would be like the threshold. You could have less than 10%, but you probably wouldn't want to have more. It's just the less percentage, the more times your banner is going to display in front of them. And, you know, we could run this with multiple banners. So we could be hitting them with multiple messages. So the fewer percentage, the better off you would be. That's just a bigger ad spend.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So yeah, absolutely. Bradley, you had your hand up. Did you want to pop out?
Yeah, I had a question about Site Pop. Can we talk about that?
Sure.
I've had a bunch of campaigns running for a while now. At what point after the keywords start ranking, and do you start switching out the keywords? What's the strategy there?
Okay. What I typically do with my clients is we'll grab keywords that are on like page 2 and 3 to begin with. And once those are pushed up, then I go back and I look at the new keywords that came up to page 2 and 3. Because what it typically does, the ones you hit first, you know, they'll naturally go up. Unless they're really competitive, then they might take a lot longer. But it always drags a bunch of new ones up behind it. So after they kind of stabilize up there for a month or two, I'll go back and I'll look at what new opportunities exist and decide if I want to swap any of them out, if they make sense. So that's typically how I do it, but you are free to swap keywords out anytime you want in the network.
Okay, I just didn't know. Okay, so if I pull them off, then those aren't going to drop down. Right?
A lot of times they'll stick. I mean, you can monitor it. If they drop down and they're more meaningful than the new ones you're targeting, then you know you can always swap them back. But what I look at is I look at the best opportunities that are available at the time, and I'll push those up, and then I'm looking for new, better opportunities. So when there's a new, better opportunity, that's when I would be likely to swap them out.
Okay.
So hopefully that makes sense. But you're
John, what would be the maximum amount of keywords you would suggest not exceeding in Site Pop at any one time? Because I've been running the same keywords for my clients since I signed up actually. Should I change them?
That's okay. There's no problem with running the same keywords. There's not an issue with that. The thing is, you have an opportunity to leverage the power of Site Pop by, you know, when you drag keywords up, it drags other ones with it. So when you now scoop up those next layer down below and push those up, you're typically keeping the ones that are already up there up anyway. So
I'm running 4 at the moment. I'm only running 4 keywords per client. Should I add a couple more keywords to that?
You could do that, sure. Yeah, that's a good idea if you're just getting started, to run less keywords, because it will hit them harder and it'll move them faster. A lot of times I use the strategy of using all 12 keywords. What that does, it doesn't give me a lot of fast movement on the 12 itself, but I notice it drags a lot more up with it.
Right.
So there's a lot of different strategies. I know a lot of people that are in SEO, doing SEO. They're kind of narrow focused, and when they don't see the results real fast on what they're doing, they like don't think it's working. And like I had mentioned earlier on in this call, that's not really the way you look at SEO. You look at it overall, what your effort is doing across the board. I'm a across the board player. I'm not a flash in the pan SEO player. I'm looking at this as a strategy across the board. So a lot of times I'll go in with the 12, and I'm not looking for fast results on those 12. I'm looking to pull a whole bunch up with it. I'm looking to create trust across that entire domain, not just to try and push a couple keywords up right now just to say I can do it.
Right. Okay. Well, I might try with one client, just expand the keywords, just go out and forward away.
Now, sometimes with clients don't get it. Clients only want to see results. So what you're doing, from a client perspective that is not knowledgeable, that might be a better game plan, because you can show them quick results and they're happy, and then you can continue doing what you do. But like I said, there's a lot of different strategies for SEO. When I take on an SEO client, I have a lot of pre-discussion about expectations and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it that way and all of that. I don't take on people that are expecting miracles. Like, this is a long-term thing. If you're looking to dip your toe in, I'm not your guy. I'm all in, the full length of the playing field.
Yeah.
And it's a long battle. It's not a flash in the pan.
Okay. Well, I'll try adding more keywords and see where it takes me on one client, and just see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really no wrong way to do it. There's just wrong expectations of it. I'm telling you, it really doesn't matter what you do with SitePop. When you start sending those signals, it's going to make a difference. You just might not know what to look for.
Oh yeah, Google's already told me on 2 clients that, hey, you're trending, so it's doing something.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. It does what it's supposed to do, and it's very good at it.
So, one more question about SitePop on that is that we have 2 phones that are 818 numbers that we could use for this, but since our clients are in Maine and the phones are the clients are in Los Angeles, but the phones are in Maine, would that mess up Google?
No, it makes no difference, because when you set up a SitePop campaign, you put the location of the client, not the location of the phone.
Oh, okay.
The phones don't matter where they are, because in our network, it looks for the phones that are closest to the client. So your phones might not be the ones doing the searches for that client. They might be doing searches for clients that are close to you.
Yeah, but you said that the advantage of having, multiple, old phones in the system is that it can ping essentially that website that they're going to, right?
No, what it does, the more phones that you have connected, the more searches you get out of the network.
Oh.
So like, for every phone that you connect to the network, that's good for about 250 searches a month.
And it doesn't matter about location?
No, because you're getting the searches out of the network, not off of your phone. Your phone is contributing. That's why with your phone contributing those searches, we're able to give them back to you out of the network.
Oh, okay.
So it's a network contribution type of an environment.
Right. Okay.
So it has nothing to do with your phone being where it is. It doesn't matter.
Awesome. Thanks.
Sure. All right. Anybody else before we wrap up for today? All right, guys. Well, hopefully you got a lot to chew on there, and we'll be back on next week, regular time. So have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for keeping us inspired to keep building our businesses.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks, John.
All right. That's what I do.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
Take good care, everybody.